All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And what a game, guys. Make sure as you come in, smash the like button. That'll help get more Utah fans in here and help make the chat that much better. Also, comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts from the game. I know it wasn't the win we wanted. It was an ugly win, but it was a win at the end of the day. And if you aren't already, guys, if you guys are a Utah football fan, and you guys have not subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're doing. This is going to be the spot for Utah football over the next few months and, throughout the whole year, as much as I can do it without feeling like I'm forcing content, if that makes sense. So with that, guys, super excited to have you here. Also, if you haven't already, share the video. If you guys have a Utah football Facebook page you like to go to, or you're on Twitter and you want to retweet it, share the video. I think that's the most valuable thing you guys can do for us. So super excited to be talking Utah Utes football tonight. I have a few awesome guests that are a part of the digest that have been making videos for the crew that are going to be coming on here in a little bit. But we'll go ahead and start just, talking Utah football, talking that game. Utah beats Baylor. Let me put it on the screen. Utah beats Baylor. Let's see, 20-13. Well, all right. So Utah pulls off the win against Baylor. And like I said, guys, that was not the game we thought we were going to get, right? I think a lot of us thought we were going to get a really dominant game where Utah looked like the king of the playground and was just pushing everybody around, right? That is not what we got. We got one of the worst halves of offensive football that I can even remember seeing. I mean, damn, dude, that was tough to watch. That first half of offense was just unreal bad. It was rough to do. But I do also want to say we won, right? It was awesome. Yep. Like Jake L just dropped in the chat. Messy, but we got the win. Don't forget, guys, Utah is 2-0 with a Power 5 conference schedule, or a Power 5 schedule. It's 2 Power 5 teams. And before the season, I'd say it was 2 teams that are in the Power 5. They're expected to be average or above average in their conferences. So it's not like we had some cakewalk, and we did it with our 3rd string QB and 4th string QB. So I think we got a lot to be happy about, guys. A lot to be happy about. Zen has said it right here. Right, first half, I wanted to turn off the TV, dude. I made it. If you guys don't follow on Twitter, make sure you do. It's at Utah Utes Ballin' for the Utah Utes Football Digest. And I had so many moments where I was just blowing up Twitter, like, what is this offense doing? And I'm going to go on a rant while I wait for the rest of the guys to get in here and join the chat. My number one concern coming out of that game, and I want to keep this positive. I do not want to make this negative. That's not the point of this. But is Andy Ludwig. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing there from Andy Ludwig. A lot of concerns, a lot of problems. I really started to wonder as I watched the first half is how much does this offense get bailed out because Cam Rising is just that damn good. And I know there's going to be a lot of talk that it was Bryson Barnes not living up to, not getting it done. But how does Andy Ludwig not diagnose this earlier? How did we see what we saw from Nate Johnson on the field today, and he wasn't seeing it any other time? I mean, there had to have been flashes. I thought he was awesome. But anyways, let's go ahead and bring on our first guest here. We've got Wild Ute with us. Wild Ute, how are you doing today? Go Utes, bro. How are you?
I'm doing so well right now. I'm doing so well. Halftime, I wasn't doing so well. I had a complete meltdown at halftime here. So
I feel that.
You know what? Sometimes you just need to win the game, guys. And sometimes games are going to get ugly. And sometimes just pulling them out and winning no matter what. If it's a point, if it's 50, it doesn't matter. And the view is before the season, if everyone was talking and you would have said, hey, are we going to go 2-0 in these games without Cam Rising? Who wouldn't have took that?
Yeah, right.
That's
how I'm feeling too. Yeah.
We have the Gators. We played the Florida Gators and then the Baylor Bears on the road, and we got 2 wins with our 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks. Let's just lay it out like it is. I mean, this is a massive win. And I know everyone's kind of poo-pooing right now. It's a massive win just pulling this out. You guys, Rising's coming back in about a week and a half. He'll be ready for UCLA. Keithy's coming back. This was the game. This was the game you had to get if you were going to make a playoff run. A playoff run.
I'm with you 100%, dude. I agree. That's how I felt going into today. When we were down like 13-3, I was like, damn, bro, are we really going to give this one up? This is so winnable. Like, it really felt like we were about to throw this one away when it was just out there for the taking. And I'm so glad it wound up like it did. Why don't you talk about Nate Johnson a little bit? I know that was a fun end of the game with him stepping out. I mean, I said on Twitter that it felt like we were watching his coming out party. I don't know if I'd go like that far to say that was really his coming out party, but I felt like that was the first time in a Power 5 football game where he had to take the reins and go make it happen. What'd you think about that, man?
I absolutely do, and I'm just perplexed on why Nate wasn't starting all along.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this before the Florida game. I mean, Nate is the X factor. He has the speed. He has a playmaking ability that Bryson just doesn't have. And I'm not going to say anything critical about Bryson, but Nate's just a different quality of player. There's a reason he was a 4-star kid. And you have to, when you're on the road, you can't play conservative football. You have to have playmakers make plays. So bringing Nate in the game if Bryson comes back in the game, I don't think we win, guys. I think the only way that we drive the field and get in the end zone is if Nate comes in. I think now it's undeniable who the backup quarterback should be for the rest of the season. And I think Nate needs to start versus Weber State, and he needs to be the backup for Rising because we might need him again. But he should be playing every single game with his explosiveness. But I don't know why this was even much of a debate, honestly. I don't know why we're flipping the quarterbacks back and forth. This was really obvious to me at least. I mean, Bryson had one great throw versus Florida, but I mean, Bryson is who he is, right? We've seen it in all the games he's played and everything. He's won. Shoot, I mean, Bryson starting, what is he, 2-0, 3-0?
Yeah, Bryson's done pretty good, but that was the first time where it was like, hey, we're going to give Bryson the reins on the offense, and it did not go well. That's an understatement.
And I remember maybe it was last week having conversations, and folks were saying, well, Bryson's never had all the reps. And he's never really been. And my counter was he's never been game planned against.
Yeah.
I mean, Bryson is who he is. He'll be a great backup to Nate Johnson, and we'll have a really good depth there and stuff. But if you want to win football games on the road, if we need to score points, Nate Johnson is the guy, and there shouldn't be any debate about that. My question is why not give him the ability to throw more often?
I think you and I heard you chatting about it on that Twitter space at halftime, and I posted about something really similar, and I was like, yo, you are every single time Nate is in, it is a quarterback read option every single time. And it was just you're not even giving him a chance to run the ball because it's so obvious what we're going to do. And for sure, Nate messed up a couple reads on the option, but it was they were just crowding the boxes. Must have been tough reads when you got two guys on the edge and you're not sure what the read man is. So, I mean, it was just ridiculous how we were using Nate. And it was oh, guess what? When you finally give him a chance to actually throw the ball and don't make it so how many times did he get body slammed because we have Nate going up the gut on a play? I couldn't believe how we were using Nate. And I felt when he started being used correctly, it became even more atrocious as you reflected back on how he was being used. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he had the body slamming that happened more than once, it seemed like. But he totally got suplexed, like the Undertaker took him out or something, right? I mean, what's going on? Why are we so vanilla with Nate too? And Andy knows Nate, and Andy's no idiot. I mean, I trust Andy. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's just the processing of the game and everything, but it's pretty clear that we just need to let it loose a little bit. Let him pass the football because we're a completely different team when that happens. I mean, honestly, this game had to be a top 3 ugliest game win ever for the Utes that I can recall. And this is a game in the past we would have lost, it seems like. But the quality now, the recruiting quality that we brought in on this defense at running back with Jackson, Glover, I mean, we just have enough horses now to get these wins. And sometimes you just need to get the wins, right? Like, and just scoot by. I mean, like, it's 130 degrees on the field at Baylor. Like, you're struggling with like the third and fourth string quarterbacks and everything. And, Bernard's out and everything was against us. All the momentum was against us and we pulled it out. So, I mean, we should be super optimistic about this. Like, we won that game. We're 2-0 with two great wins. We probably have the best resume with Colorado in the nation right now.
That's how I feel too. And I would say our resume is, yeah, you're right. It's right there with Colorado. I would say Nebraska. I feel like Nebraska is not as impressive as either of the teams we beat because I think we all, in the back of our minds, we were underselling Baylor and the tape looked bad, but I think we all, in the back of our minds, were like, okay, we know Baylor doesn't suck, right? Like, Baylor's got a roster that's not much less talented than ours. And so they must be able to at least, like, I didn't think they would snap back that well. Like, I predicted this game 31-13, but I knew they would be better than they were against Texas State. I didn't think they were going to come out and look terrible. So
then the defense was right there, right? The 13. I was on that same score prediction, honestly. It's crazy how many people had that 31-13 prediction before the game. It ended up 20-13. So this defense played lights out. This defense is so dang good. And like, it's the offense, right? If right now with backup quarterbacks, we're a top 20 team in the nation. With Rising coming back, with what we've seen from him in the past, with Heathy coming back, and just going to add a different element.
Top 5, right? Baby.
Yeah. Seriously, I mean, like,
once he's back, we're top 5. Yeah, and I said, dude, this game was frustrating, right? It wasn't fun to watch. It was like the majority of this game was like we were watching our offense just run into a wall mentally. That's how it felt. But then, at the end of the game, once things finally started to click, I don't know how you felt. I'm sorry to cut you off. I want to hear what you think about this. But it was kind of like the silver line at the end of the day was, as frustrating as it was, we got tested. We got put up against the wall. They started punching us in the face. And it was like, what do we do? Like, what happens when that happens, especially without Cam Rising? And I think this is a huge statement. I think if you're any team in the country right now, you should be worried about playing Utah.
Oh, absolutely. This game was really akin to San Diego State a couple years ago, and Rising started, becoming the starter and came in. We lost that game. And the difference is this time we won. We won that game, and like that could have been a real special season stuff if we get that win. We pull that off this time. Yeah, it's frustrating, but again, we're on our third and fourth string quarterback, and help is on the way. Help will be here, and we've got stud quarterback and our best offensive weapon coming back. How can you not be optimistic? We've got a 2-0 record with like our third and fourth string quarterback. Anyone's going to take that. And like, you got to give the Utes kudos for like the depth on this team. There's no way in the past Utah teams could do this with the depth. Like, we have enough depth now. We've got 6 deep on our running backs, right? And like, you see that, what was it? Charlie Vincent came in.
I know. I was laughing. I was like, what is Charlie Vincent doing?
Like, what? And he's got a couple yards. And like, and what actually made me optimistic is like at halftime, we were getting blown off the ball and we were losing the trenches, and especially on the defensive line. That stopped in the second half, right? It stopped. And like, we made the adjustments on defense we needed to. We suffocated them. They scored a field goal in the second half.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, this game ball goes to Cole Bishop in the defense for sure. But like, I think it showed us that Nate Johnson is that player that we hoped he was. And with more development, he could be pretty dang explosive. And like, we're looking forward in the Big 12 next year and stuff. Is he going to be the guy when Cam's gone? Is it going to be Nate Johnson? Is it going to be Isaac Wilson? We'll see, or somebody else. Maybe Brandon Rose, but 2-0 right there. 2-0, Greg. You're right, man. Like, it's cause for celebration. Getting this.
Yeah, I'm gonna shout out Greg real quick, dude. Thanks for the super chat, man. $20. This is more than generous. Greg is always super generous to the channel. Greg, if you ever want to come on the channel, you've always got an open invite, man. You're awesome. Thanks again, Greg.
Is that Greg right there? Or is that R.C. Slater? Greg, you look a lot like R.C. Slater, man.
You mean A.C. Slater?
A.C. Slater, that's right. Maybe that's
I
showing
can
rage
see,
a little
yeah,
bit
A.C.
right
Slater, he's like the parallel universe A.C. Slater. R.C. Slater. There you go.
Yeah, it's definitely really like, and I was talking with some Big 12 fans and like in Greg Swaim, over in Oklahoma State territory and stuff, and he's like, I don't know why you guys are celebrating so much. I mean, this was a tough win. It's like, guys, like this is the kind of win we don't get in the past. And so I'm super stoked and everything. And like you rest Cam up. Maybe you play him a little bit for Weber State if he's ready to go. But like, man, this is like a dream season kind of play. You bring him in Pac-12 play with UCLA coming into town. You bring Keithy. All of a sudden, like, let's look at it now, okay? Let's just start talking about this. No Utes have ever talked about this. The expectation's not to win the conference anymore as a Ute fan. It can't be. It's playoff. That's the next level. Who cares if you get back to like a Pac-12 championship? The Pac-12's gone anyway. Like it's really this year now, it's playoff or bust. Like you have to get to a 10-2 record, even have a sniff at it. You might not even get in there, but how are you going to get to a 10-2 record? You're already 2-0. That means you're 8-2 the rest of the way. You've got 2 losses, even like on those tough road games coming up and everything that you could probably eat. And if it's maybe sneak into that Pac-12 championship game and get a shot at the 4th seed in the playoff. I mean, it's totally doable. It's right there. Like you can see it as a Ute fan. All you got to do is go 8-2 the rest of the way.
Yep.
Everything. So, I mean, I'm just let's just set that expectation. That is the expectation for this Ute squad. It's not just going to some good bowl game. It's not the Alamo Bowl. It's the playoff or nothing. And
I'm with you 100%, dude. It is awesome. Damn, another super chat. Go Utes, Anasazi, dude. I think you're newer to the channel. Anasazi, thank you so much. He says, go Utes. We need a lot of work, but we won. Thanks for doing the show. Love your content, dude. That's awesome, guys. Just so you guys know, like, I don't do this for the money. Like, it's not what this is about, but that's like so awesome that you guys are willing to just drop your money because I know every dollar is hard to come by. So that's awesome, guys. Thank you so much. We got Lanky Boy.
You give some good stuff too. Like, and everyone knows it out there. Like, you give the most detailed Ute breakdowns and everything with your PFS. Like, I mean, everyone comes into the game kind of knowing what to expect. So, any kind of super chats are totally warranted, man. Seriously.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that a lot. I didn't feel that way this week when I was watching that game. I didn't feel like I gave you guys a good breakdown. But we got Lanky Boy jumping in with us here. Lanky Boy, what is up, man? Go Utes. How are you doing today?
Bro. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That was so painful to watch in the first half, but I'm glad we pulled out the W there at the end. I also have my own Utah football channel now.
Really? Good, dude. That's awesome. You should hop on sometime and hang out with us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's with some other Utah fans, and they're the ones that invited me into it, but I don't know, like, they don't know how to upload stuff on YouTube, so I just decided to upload stuff on YouTube. We just go on Zoom call and talk about the games and stuff. But
cool, man. What's the channel called?
I actually don't even know what the channel is.
Okay, well, you might want to find that out.
Yeah. But I uploaded it on my my channel. It's just my first and last name, Stanton Sylvester.
Cool.
But yeah, I wish we would have played Nate more, man. Like, in like the whole game through, it just didn't seem like Bryson was working the whole time at all. Like, it just seemed like we were like just came out sluggish in the first half and we didn't look good. So
I feel that. Any other thoughts you want to share on the game?
I mean, yeah, it was a tough win, but I'm glad we got the W. I mean, it seemed like we controlled the game better in the second half than we did in the first half.
Oh yeah,
because the first half it felt like we couldn't get the run game going, and I don't know what it is, but like we needed to throw the ball more. Like, sure, Nate's a good runner, but he's also a good passer too. I just felt like we could have utilized him a little bit more.
For sure.
The throwing, you know.
But no, I agree 100%, dude.
Yeah, I'm with you,
thanks so much for your thoughts, Lanky Boy. Go Utes, dog.
Go
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Dude, I'm so excited about this win, Joseph. I'm not kidding you. Like, this is a massive win. Like, before the season, this was the game that was circled to really dictate if we're going to have like an 8-4, 9-3 season, or like possible like a 10-2 or a real special season. Getting this one so freaking big. It's so big.
Yeah, because you feel very, very confident we beat Weber State. So you're almost, they can't look at it this way, but we can and say that that's just a checked box. And it's like, then we go into conference play 3-0. That's a pretty big deal.
It's huge, and and Lanky Boy was right. The second half adjustments. I mean, you got to give it to the coaching staff. Like the defense just clamped down. There was nothing for them in the second half. I mean, really, Sawyer Robinson threw 2 picks. In the last one to Cole Bishop. How good is that freaking guy? Cole Bishop is so good.
Dude.
He's gonna be All-American.
Oh yeah, I think Cole Bishop. I'm excited to see the PFF grades. I saw someone comment on Twitter, and they were like, he had a 73.5 last week, which is a good grade. That's a good starter. But I'm excited to see what his grade is this week because he was making plays, dude. He was flying all over the field, hitting people hard. He had 2 tackles for losses. I mean, he was a game changer today, plus the interception. I mean, what else could you want from him? For my vote, I mean, someone show me a better safety in the country than Cole Bishop.
There's nobody.
That's how I feel too, dude. Hey, I wanted to talk about one thing. Before we move forward, guys, please make sure you smash that like button. We want to get as many Utes fans in here to make this chat as awesome as possible. Also, comment below. If you guys have any questions you have for me or for Wild Ute, we'd love to answer them, chat about it a little bit. Share the video too. If you guys have, if you're on Twitter, retweet this. If you have a Utah football Facebook page, you'd like to share stuff too, share it there. And most of all, subscribe to the channel, guys. We're going to be putting out a ton of awesome content all year. So if this is what you're into, make sure you stick around.
Joseph, can you go to the last comment?
Which one?
The one that mentioned swagger. I forgot who. Who?
Yeah, right here, Capisi. He's a regular on the channel. Capisi's the man, dude.
This is really on target here. So Johnson got a huge boost in confidence. There's evidence in the swagger, and that keyword right there is the swagger.
When he ran into the end zone, dude, on that tough up the middle run, there was some swagger on that run, dude.
Well, the thing is, the first half, there was a lot of tightness. Even as a fan watching it, I felt tight. I was like, oh gosh, every time we threw the ball, I felt like it was going to be a turnover.
Ugh.
And and then Nate comes in at the end, and that's exactly this comment is nails right here because that's exactly what Nate brought to that last drive is the swagger, and that's what the Utes need to really take the next level up. Rising's got the swagger. I mean, he's got that D'Artagnan swagger, when he's strutting around and everything.
Yeah.
And Nate's getting that too. And if this was the game to lift them, if the Utes have swagger, they have confidence, they play loose and stuff with the talent on this team. That's what we need. That's exactly what we need, not tightness, swagger. So really, this comment is nails.
No, I feel that 100%. Yeah, I felt like Nate took a step today and really went from being a great athlete into a guy that looks like, I don't know if he's there yet. We're only talking about 1 or 2 drives, really. But a guy that has, in my mind, very high hopes of developing into not just an awesome athlete, which he already is, but an awesome quarterback that is also an awesome athlete. So I wanted to jump in, though. I wanted to ask you about something. So I was very disappointed with the play calling today. I felt like Andy Ludwig really dropped the ball. And this is on top of the Bryson Barnes thing. This is on top of putting Bryson in over and over again and not letting Nate throw. But my number one problem was how well we were running and how often he would turn away from it. It was, just to give you guys an idea, outside of quarterback runs and wide receiver sweeps, if you take those out, like where it was not a running back running the ball, just the running backs, they had 27 carries for 173 yards. That's 6.4 yards per carry. We were running at will on these guys, and then all of a sudden, first down would come, and he would put Bryson Barnes back there in shotgun and have him throw it and ruin the drive. I was losing my mind watching this, honestly. And I'm not saying this is the case, but it really made me start to wonder how much Cam Rising's big playability bails Andy Ludwig out, and definitely solidified to me that he has some growing issues to do if we ever have Cam Rising out for an extended period of time ever again. I mean, I would just love to hear your thoughts, how you felt about watching that in the offense and what you thought about the play calling.
I didn't love the play calling either, especially when Nate Johnson was in the game, like we mentioned earlier, just because it was that read option play every time. And the thing that really drove me like I was losing my mind watching this game was
Really,
first and
dude.
second down penalties, guys.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's not just like in shotgun, like in some of the play calling, you got to shake it up a little bit, and they're stacking the box. It was still working, but just shake it up a little bit. But then we'd get like a pass, we connect on a pass, and there's a freaking holding. Those holding calls were so dang ticky tack, guys. Like seriously, you see
Oh
like
my
three
gosh.
of those holding calls were so ticky tack. It drove me nuts. They were getting like all the calls in the world on those, and like even if we were getting a pass completion, like in the third quarter, the second quarter, it was like holding. It just reminded me. I've seen this story before as a really like a 20-year diehard Ute fan and stuff. This is reminiscent of the pre-Cameron Rising days, like when you'd get like a big play, it would come back on a penalty. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it reminded me of the past.
Well, and it reminded you of like 5, maybe like 6 to 8 years ago, where it was like we'd have this awesome defense and a really lackluster offense, or just seemed like they didn't know what they were doing out there, and that's how it felt for me too. I felt like the defense had its struggles in the first half too, for sure. It felt like our D line got pushed around. My analysis was that we were going to beat the crap out of these guys in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and that they would that any struggles would be by our DBs. But that really wasn't the case. I felt like our trenches on both sides of the ball really struggled in the first half. Offense didn't really get an opportunity, offensive line, to see if they were struggling because we wouldn't really run. But weird game, dude.
Weird game, and like we still pulled it out. That's the thing. Honestly, in a couple of days, no one's gonna care.
Yep.
Like especially like in 2 weeks, after we beat up on Weber State and we're 3-0, ain't nobody gonna care that we won this game so ugly. So it's a moot point as long as you win, even by a point. You can have these games.
Yeah.
Like you just need to get the dub, and there you go. Capisi 2019 Utah flashbacks. It's so true.
Yep.
Like it kind of reminds me like the Travis Wilson days and everything, and even like the Jordan Wynn days of old back in the Mountain West days. It was just like getting anything in the pass game going is such a struggle and everything. It's hard to watch.
It's funny, just talking about the penalties. I just want to mention this before we move on. Is I agree with you what you were saying with some of these holdings. I feel like the last one at the end with Jackson was justified. Like that looked like holding to me. It was debatable, but it looked like holding. Where the other two, I was like, that doesn't look like holding at all. I was like, this is happening. 3 out of 5 linemen are doing this every play. That's really how I felt. I also felt, though, that PI, they were super not aggressive with the flags. I felt like both sides. I felt like there was a couple times where we debatably did PI, and same on their side. And I was like, oh, I actually prefer that. I like to let them play a little bit, let them get physical. But did you notice that as well? The PI was less, but the holding was more.
That was murder, that last play. Straight murder right there. We'll take it because all those ticky-tack, calls. And to speak to like this thought too is like RG3, who is a Baylor grad and huge like a supporter, alum, and everything. He even mentioned 1 or 2 of those holdings. He's like, "Oh, pretty ticky-tack," And like he's not going to say that if it's not blatant ticky-tack. So I mean, they go both ways.
Who was the one? It was like late first half, early second half. There was one holding call. I forget who it was on. It wasn't the Michael Mokafisi at the end, and I don't think it was the Laumea one. Might have been, but there was 3 total, I think, and there was one that was just such a bad call. You were just like, what is holding? If that's holding, like, I have no idea. Do you remember the one I'm talking about?
I remember a few of those. I don't know the player, but like I remember like the actual grab or lack of grab.
Yeah, that was a wild one. We got 70 people in here, guys. This is one of the biggest streams we've ever had. I'd say this is probably second. I remember there was one the night we beat USC. That was a big one. When I went live after that, I think we got into the hundreds. But that's awesome, guys. Make sure you guys drop a like, comment, any questions you have in the chat, and subscribe. That's really cool, guys.
Joseph, tell the people, tell these 70 people what this means for the program and what this means for the rest of the year. Like the big picture here and how big this was.
Yeah, I would just say for me, when I look at what it means for the program and for the season, it's a huge deal. So basically we had this initial test at the beginning of the season that we all knew was going to be difficult, right? But we felt good about Cam Rising being the guy to lead us through it. Then, shortly before, the Florida game, things start popping up where it's like, hey, it looks like Cam Rising actually might not play. And you're like, oh, God, dude, we have 2 insanely tough games right out the gate. This is going to be a nightmare. Hopefully we can pull it off, right? We look awesome against Florida. You know, that was so exciting. Home field advantage. But I think we all knew we were going to win. Like, I know a lot of people, like, obviously you don't know you're going to win, but a lot of people underestimate Utah's home field advantage. I think if you're a Utah fan, you get it. You're like, hey, we could take almost any team in the country at home. Almost anyone in the country. I'd say anyone in the country at home, I'm picking Utah. Anyone in the country at home with the third string quarterback, that's where it gets dicey, right? That's where it starts to get dicey. And I would say we really showed up. I felt good against Florida, but you didn't know what Florida would be. Then we come into Baylor. They looked like dog crap against Texas State, but it also looks like Texas State is a good team. I don't know if they've played yet this week. I'm excited to see how Texas State looks this week. I think that'll give us a better idea of what this Baylor win means in talent-wise, that sort of deal. But you win against Baylor. These were two really tough out-of-conference opponents. That means you're going to go in, have Weber State. I believe that's at home. I mean, it definitely is at home. And they're going to come to our house. Might as well check that off. And then we're going to go into conference play. And we have one of the toughest conference play schedules there is. We have 5 extremely difficult games. A few of those are at home. A few of those are away, which you're more worried about the away ones. But the Pac-12 is going to be a gauntlet this year. And having these wins early on and being able to write yourself that check later on if you do slip up, right? If you do slip up, you have that check in your back pocket. Hey, we went 3-0 in out of conference play. 2 of those 3 were against really good teams. And that's kind of what I think these past 2 games meant for our season. I mean, what are your thoughts, Wild?
Oh, that's really good right there. And
Cool.
And I'm going to mention this again. I'm going to keep mentioning this. The expectation is the playoff. Ute fans, the expectation is the playoff. It's not winning the defunct Pac-12 conference. We're a Big 12 team. And honestly, really, we need to focus on getting to the playoff with this squad. We've got a senior quarterback. We've got a stacked defense. We've got a stud tight end that's coming back. And we need to get to a 10-2 record. We're 2-0 right now. We got to go 8-2 the rest of the way. Weber, I'm assuming, is going to be a check off too. So it means we need to go 7-2 in Pac-12 play, which is going to be a feat. With how good Colorado is right now, with how good this Pac is, if we can do that, I think that we'll sneak into the Pac-12 championship, have a chance to win that game, and sneak into the playoff. And that is the definition of a good season now. That's how good the squad is. Anything less would be a disappointment. We'll see how it goes. I'm super excited. These 2 wins before the season. If you're going to beat Florida at home and at Baylor on the road, and you're 2-0 going into everything else, anybody's going to take that at any result. So we need to realize where we're at. We need to get better, bring Rising back, and really make this push to make this the most special Utah season that we've ever seen. Because as Whittingham said, this is the best Utah team we've ever seen. Let's not act like it's not. This is the year to do it. It won't be next year because we're going to have a raw quarterback coming in and everything. We'll have a good defense still, but this is the squad to do it over the next couple of years. And so I'm stoked that we just escaped with a win. This is a massive win.
Escaped is a great word.
Massive win.
Yeah, escaped with it.
So, yeah, I'll quit going on the rant, but hey, how about the cleats melting on the field today?
I heard about that. What was going on there?
The field temperature was over 130 degrees. It's nuts.
Jeez, oh, really, dude.
And so the cleats, the rubber on the cleats were actually melting. So that just gives you a little heads up on how difficult this environment was. It wasn't like the crowd noise or anything, but you're basically just melting in the hot sun. We're literally melting in the hot sun here. So getting this win's massive. Baylor is a P5 team. Baylor had a horrible week last week, but hey, you know what? We knew that we were going to get their best shot, and we did get their best shot. And we're very fortunate, though, that Sawyer Robinson was the starting quarterback and not Blake Shapen. This could be a different result.
We don't win that game. I feel if our offense looked like that, we don't win that game against Blake Shapen. And I think we can beat Blake Shapen even with this crew. And if Nate Johnson was starting, we got a shot. But it's like we're lucky. We got a little lucky. I mean, it was still. I'd say our defense really impressed me. Might as well pull up those stats real quick. I mean, these guys were flying around the ball. I thought there was a lot of guys that stepped up. I think there were some guys that had some up and down days, right? Where some plays were awesome, some plays were down. but I don't think anybody had a bad day from what I saw. I mean, did you feel like anyone you saw out there had a bad day on defense?
I think the only bad day was a Miles Battle for letting that guy get behind him into the season,
at the
right
very
into the
end.
game.
That's a good point.
I mean, you didn't hear much about Miles Battle before. That's always a good thing for a cornerback.
Yeah.
You know, quiet is good, but that was egregious. I mean, he almost like busted that for a touchdown. Like that was the worst play of the game. So Miles Battle, yeah. Like I mean, if that's on him, if he lost leverage there, then
I mean, I think it was pretty clear it was on him. Like, I mean, I don't see anyone else who would have been their responsibility. I mean,
he's going to get absolutely reamed this week for that.
And then they went back to him at the end. I would say, like, as much as a lot of people thought that was PI, I'd say it's way better to PI than to give up a touchdown. You know what I mean? He got aggressive, got in the guy's face, broke up the pass. So, like, that was a terrible play. Like, that they shouldn't have gotten close. Because it's one thing for them to, like, just bomb it. It's a jump ball. The guy pulls it down, right? That happens. But when your guy's 10 yards, dude, that was – I'm sure you guys all felt like me where my heart dropped when that ball was in the air and I see the Baylor wide receiver wide open. I'm like, what is this, dude? Yeah, but yeah, so I'd agree. You're right. Miles Battle probably didn't have a good game, but outside of him, and it's really just one play, but outside of him, I felt like there was a lot of good games. One guy I thought had a very up and down game, but overall I thought very good was Zamiah Vaughn. Now, Zamiah Vaughn had the interception. He had a couple nice pass breakups, but he also gave up some big plays. I was a little disappointed in Zamiah in the first half because I've been hyping him up so much all year and all off season, and then all of a sudden he's giving up all these plays to Baylor, who we all feel like we should be beating pretty handily. So, but he did second half. He looked complete 360, turned it around. I mean, did you notice Zamiah in the game?
Yeah, I noticed that he had a bad player too, but mostly kind of a quiet game too. So I'm not going to fault him too much. I mean, they couldn't pass that well. They had a couple busts and everything, but it wasn't that. It was actually just that first half ground game that they got going, and they're running over us. That was driving us all mad. But the player that I kind of want to spotlight here, I mean, two thoughts here. So Lander Barton's hit. Lander Barton's a scary man.
Gosh, dude.
Seriously, he didn't even hit him as hard as he could. I mean, that guy's going to be such a beast in the NFL. Oh my gosh. Just imagine that. I mean, like, we would have lost our lives if we got hit like that.
He's a true sophomore. He's so young. Yeah.
And then my man Teo Johnson. I love Teo Johnson. He is so good and athletic and quick and everything. And I just think this guy's going to be a special player come next year and the year after. I mean, he really is. I just like watching him. He's so explosive. He's such a playmaker too. And so the defense, I'm going to give like maybe an A. I would give an A+. And outside of that Miles Battle, that Miles Battle busted coverage, and then the PI obviously in the no call PI in the end zone. I agree with you though. You got to do that. You got to give up that touchdown.
Yeah, that's the game right there. So cool. And then with that, let's talk about some of the offensive performances. Do you feel like there's anyone that really stood out to you on offense today?
I think Mikey Matthews is the player we thought he was going to be. I think he's the best receiver on this team already. Man, the guy makes catches in tight spots, takes big hits, and he is a tough dude. And I love having Mikey Matthews on this team. Seriously, he's like a Julian Edelman type of player or something, you know, like just getting dirty, gonna catch everything. He's like that. What he is, he's a better version of Britton Covey. Because Britton Covey would just get hurt, you know, like unfortunately take like these massive shots. But Mikey's just a more talented version of Covey, and I love having this on the team for a couple of years. He's going to be a beast with Rising. You know, Pittman, I had higher hopes for Pittman. You notice here, no catch for Emery Simmons for 2 games in a row. How does Emery Simmons go 0 catches in 2 games? What is going on?
He also graded really bad last game. He was only in for a few plays, but his grade was really bad, which it's few plays. You can't take too much from that, but really bad grade.
So I don't know. Maybe he's not the player we thought he was. Maybe it speaks to the quarterback play and the lack of being able to get and push that ball. When Rising comes in, maybe that changes. I thought he was going to be a really good player, but really Mikey Matthews is the player that filled that. Maybe that's just, you know, playing over him too, talent-wise, because I kind of thought that he was going to fill that slot receiver place. And then also Jaquin Jackson.
I was going to say, are you not going to mention that guy?
No, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, just look at the stats up there, you know, just how hard he played. He was hurt a couple times, wind knocked out of him, looked like. And so what a stud. We knew he was a stud. This was a good breakout game for Jaquindon. Then you got to give it to Jalen Glover coming in and running pretty hard. A couple of those plays too. I like Jalen Glover a lot.
Yeah, I thought that was the first game that was against like a real opponent where I saw Jalen get a real, decent sized carries, and he showed up and he showed up well. I thought he looked really good out there. And then he had the touchdown, obviously. I guess they kind of gave it to him, but it didn't look that way until he broke out of that pile. I feel like before he broke out of the pile, it didn't look like they were giving it to him, but I haven't rewatched the play. But I agree. Jaquindon Jackson looked off the charts good, dude. He's all the hype we wanted. And as he kept getting better and better throughout the game, it just got me more and more frustrated. We weren't running more of a run-centric game plan. Like, there was so many good running backs, and it was like half of our runs were with freaking Nate. Like, look at that, 11 runs up the gut. He's averaging 2.9 yards a carry. They just know he's going to run. They keep slamming him. It's frustrating to watch, but again, very happy we got out of there with the win. Then we got Nate Johnson here, 6 for 7. He went 82 yards, so not a crazy number of yards, but more than anything, it was how clutch he was, really high completion percentage. Looked like an awesome player. I mean, what did you see out of him? How do you feel about his future, and what do you think we really saw today?
He needs more development in the passing game. And like Ludwig knows that. We all know that. But if he can develop more, he is going to be a really good player for the Utes. But like, it seems like it's probably not going to be this year that he figures it all out, but next year when he could start in the new Big 12, I think that he could be the player that we were hoping he is supposed to be. This like blue chip 4-star kid. You guys, he picked Utah over Michigan. Michigan wanted Nate Johnson. Like, this is a huge time. Like, this is a big recruit, maybe one of the best we've ever had at the quarterback position, outside of the Tuttle kid. Not going to talk about that guy though. So Nate Johnson really is like he so explosive and everything else. If he gets his pass game opened up and his scrambling ability, it's going to be special. But really, his decision making, and these guys stop turning the ball over, getting close to doing that. That's like his biggest weakness. Is just like he's a little volatile with the football. And we needed some volatility in this game to get the win. When you're on the road, you have to take those risks and stuff. I mean, so I could see like why Bryson at home, the safety of Bryce Eccles is the play and stuff. But Nate is the future, and like why now at this point it's clear, and like get him the snaps and everything so he can compete next year when Rising's gone. That's what I think.
No, I'm with you 100%. How do you, like, after that game, obviously it's one game and it's really only a couple drives. And like you said about Barnes, a lot of teams hadn't game planned around him. I also feel like we got to be, accurate and say now a lot of teams have game planned around Nate's throwing ability, right? Like, this is going to be some of the first real throwing tape that you have on Nate Johnson. How do you feel moving forward about the odds percentage chance that Nate is our guy next year?
I think that it's a 50-50 that Nate is the guy. I think Brandon Rose is going to have something to say about that. We've never even seen Brandon Rose like play a snap in a real game, guys. And like, he was supposed to be the second stringer. We saw him in the spring game. Then Isaac Wilson's going to have a lot of hype and everything, but it's going to be tough to beat out Brandon Rose and Nate Johnson. So I'm kind of curious.
Bryson Barnes.
Bryson Barnes he's got to be a senior, right?
Yeah.
Wait, he's a junior this year?
Yeah, he's a junior this year. He's going to be here next year.
Man, I love Bryson Barnes. This guy, like, I just hope that he gets like a doctorate or something at the U for all these years he's been in the program. Now that he's on scholarship. To get this man a doctorate, so it could be a medical doctor or something after his playing days. He deserves it for getting these wins. I'm not going to say anything negative about Bryson Barnes because he's been playing for free. He's been working at Lowe's, and getting wins for the Utes. Don't ever knock a guy like that. Like, seriously, in this NIL era, he's paying his way.
No, for sure.
So Bryson Barnes, he's one of my favorite players.
I think we might not see a ton of him anymore this year. I think that might have been the nail in the coffin this game. But I do agree he's put in so much work. And he's still a great break glass in case of emergency. I mean, still a great player.
He should be undefeated Ute. He'll always go down as undefeated Ute. And like, and for who he was and him playing good in the Rose Bowl, well, fond memories and everything of Bryson Barnes. He deserves all those. He deserves a scholarship too. And so, but going forward, it really it's going to be that three-headed race. And like, is Isaac Wilson going to? Can you be a freshman and beat out a Nate Johnson that's 2 years in the program or a Rose? And like I know Chase is saying that, I know Larry's saying that. Hey, it's going to be Isaac Wilson's team. Like, is he really that good? They can come in as a true freshman and beat out Brandon Rose and then Nate Johnson. I don't see it. I don't see it. Like, not
I'm
year
with
one.
you, man. I'm with you 100%. I think Isaac Wilson looks amazing, but I think some of you guys might want to go watch Nate Johnson's high school highlights and then come back. Yeah, high school is a little different. Isaac Wilson, I very much expect by like 2-3 years in that he is going to be either the guy or like right there can be competing for that spot. Isaac Wilson looks awesome, but I don't think it's a good thing for any program when a freshman is the clear starter, especially when you have so much talent. I feel like everyone always bags on our inability to develop quarterbacks. I feel like if Isaac Wilson were to come in and be the guy, that might be a red flag for how we're developing quarterbacks right now. So.
Isn't this like with Nate Johnson? Isn't this like really similar to Tyler Huntley's trajectory too? I mean, Tyler Huntley as a freshman came in, got a bunch of touchdowns, like on read options. It basically feels the exact same thing, like the exact same way as we were prepping up Tyler Huntley. And as a senior, he turned into a studdo, right? Yeah. So I think that Nate Johnson, with more development, he's actually who I would peg to be the starter next year. Given like that thought and everything, and how explosive those Huntley offenses were with the scrambling, that's really what to expect for the Utes. And like, you know, if we're going to make a run like in the playoff or anything, we need that explosiveness. Like, you need a quarterback that can just take it to the house at any time. So I think that Nate Johnson, I would love to put the time in to develop him to get the max skill set, because I think he has the highest upside to take us the farthest in the Big 12, you know, going forward. It's not going to be this year unless Rising, you know, something happens with Rising. But I think that I'm really curious too, Joseph. We gotta do a video where we're putting the high school tape of Nate Johnson throwing the football deep in mid-range and seeing like what kind of skill set he has. Because at Utah, we haven't seen it at all.
His deep ball. Just so you guys know, if you guys are interested, I did a breakdown of Nate Johnson. Like, there's a recruiting video on this channel of Nate Johnson when he committed.
You got to repost that.
Yeah, I should, huh?
Yeah, because we got to see what this guy's got, and we haven't seen his arm talent.
I haven't watched the video in a long time, but I remember watching him and being like, damn. And you know, you watch some, especially quarterbacks, they have this great arm, but some of these throws, like Isaac Wilson, I commented on it when I did his breakdown. I was like, great arm. Why is he throwing into triple coverage? Right? Like, what is this? But Nate Johnson, dude, I thought it was some of the cleanest high school tape I had seen. It was very good. It was one of my early recruiting videos, but it was very good. Nate Johnson coming out of high school looked like a rock star, dude. So if you guys haven't watched it, check it out. It's a good video.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is like being able to take his arm talent to the next level. He's got the arm strength. Can he deliver the ball without turning it over in the intermediate and long passing games and get some rapport with the receivers? I think that he can. I think he's going to start next year. And I think that if he really improves his game, he's going to be pretty dang explosive. And of course, we're going to have Bryson Barnes as the backup. We know he's going to be there. He ain't going nowhere.
Hey, I have something I want to talk about a little bit. Before we talk about it, if you guys haven't already, smash that like button. Let's build this Utah football community, guys. If you guys want to be a part of something awesome and do these live streams after every game and have tons of people in this chat, let's grow this thing. Comment in the chat if you guys have any questions. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Also, share the video, whether that's to your, you know, if you have a Utah football Facebook page you like, something like that, share it there. If you're on Twitter, retweet it. And most of all, subscribe, guys. Let's make this thing awesome. So many of you guys' names I see in here all the time, like Capisi, Larry Pilgrim. That's how we met. Was Larry would just comment on my videos, and he started coming on the channel. I mean, Jay Spider Flash, Greg Hawkins, a bunch of cool guys, Chase Orange, a bunch of cool guys that are here all the time. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe. One thing I do want to talk about is the offensive and defensive lines, Wild Ute. Where are you mentally on the offensive and defensive lines? I think there was some concerns today for one of them and maybe both of them. I just wanted to see what you saw, how you felt about everything.
Oh, I think that we are fine. I think we're fine on the offensive line and defensive line. I think that the offensive line, you could say, struggled in the first quarter, but really towards the end of the game, they started imposing their will. They're a talented and deep group. I have no concerns about that. The defensive line getting pushed back in the first half made me almost fall down. I could not believe it.
Yep.
I could not believe it. Like, how can this Baylor team that got exploded? If you watch the tape versus Texas State, they totally got owned in the trenches, and how we were losing the trenches with our guys, it was the shock of all shocks. That stopped in the second half. We did not lose a trench battle in the second half, and I think that we got a little sleepy going into this game. I think the field was hot. It wasn't a sellout out there. There wasn't much juice. There wasn't a lot of swagger, as Capisi said. We need that swagger and stuff, and I think we just got a little sleepy in the first half. And who knows what Kyle Whittingham said at halftime. I'm sure it was real ugly, especially with that defensive line getting blown off the ball. Yeah, I'm sure that was really, really hard to hear.
So tough to watch, dude. That defense, like, because I'm with you. I didn't expect it to be as dominant as the numbers would say. I just felt like it was almost unrealistic how dominant we should have been. But when I saw our defense getting pushed around at the line, I was in shock. I was like, what is going on here? And you remember that one play? It was more bad optically than anything, but where Lander Barton's like getting off his block, then he puts his arm on the guy and the guy drags him for like 4 yards. And then Sione Vaki, like the only annoyed play I've ever seen from him, he's like right there and doesn't hit the guy. He just kind of walks up as they fall. It's like, dude, the first down's right there. Hit the freaking guy. But just the defense was actually not that bad in the first half. I think we all expected pure dominance, and that's not what we got. I mean,
the Ute fans aren't going to like to hear this, okay? So I got a lot of texts and stuff. I interact with a lot of BYU folks, the channel that I do and stuff and everything. And the common word that I was getting was soft. And I couldn't disagree with it.
Yeah.
I was saying, you know what? Yeah, it's soft. It's dang soft. And that's not Utah football. We were playing soft, sleepy football in the first half. And I was fed up. I mean, I had lost my freaking mind. That was the last thing that we needed, was to play soft football. So they weren't wrong about it. But we came in the second half and we played big boy Utah football. We weren't soft, and we imposed our will. We've got the talent to do it. We should do it in the Pac-12 too, but we can't just sleepwalk through games. This is a wake-up call. Like, we can't just do that. And but really, at the end of the day, 13 points on defense you gave up. That's an amazing performance. So,
yeah, no, exactly. That's what I thought too. Is like, I feel like our expectations were almost a little too high for what we thought our defense, specifically the defensive line. I feel like the rest of the defense didn't look really bad. Like, not bad in the first half, maybe not where you wanted them, but I feel like our defensive line in that first half, I was in shock watching it. So glad to see we bounced back. Glad to see it looked good. And then offensive line wise, I didn't see a lot of bad. I feel like when we were trying to do outside runs, I saw some messiness and 1 or 2 inside runs that weren't good, but I actually thought the offensive line did a pretty good job today, didn't you? I mean, I don't think they looked bad.
No, I mean, there was some pressure that got in there and everything, but it seemed like Barnes or Johnson had some seconds to throw. It wasn't like immediate pressure. So I thought, and honestly, the running back blocking seemed pretty good. Like, I saw the running backs like Jaquin and Jackson put on some hits, on some blitzing linebackers. So not really any major protection issues. So I found like the offensive line did a pretty good job, and like over time we just imposed the will, and the running game got going more and more. It really was the penalties. The first and second down penalties were just putting us behind the chains, and with the lack of explosion, we just can't do that with this team. We don't have Patrick Mahomes to throw a 50-yarder, like all the time. We need, when we're on our third and fourth string players at quarterback, we need to be right there, like, and have third and shorts, second and reasonables, and not second and longs and third and 20s. And when honestly, on that 4th and 10, when we went for that, like in the fourth quarter with Barnes,
I was like, what the hell are we doing, dude?
I told my wife, I'm like, there's no chance that we get this.
Yeah, he hasn't completed a pass in a quarter. What is this?
It's like, we have no chance of there's no way unless a miracle happens. And he threw behind, Mikey Matthews, whoever Valet was, and we turned it over. But that was just the flow of the game. When we were behind the sticks on the road, we were in trouble, and that might be something to look forward to in the future too. Like, hey, can we prevent that? Will Rising prevent that? With his cadence and everything, or the Mokafisi holding penalties. Hopefully that's cleaned up too. But we can't get behind the chains.
No, yeah, this was a good comment by Chase. I hadn't really thought about this. I noticed it today just watching the game, that it was no tight end usage in the passing game. Was there any catches by a tight end? Sugaturaga caught 1 pass for 13 yards. which is again like another thing that's not characteristic of Utah, right? We need to work our tight ends into the game plan, just like we don't want to be going for it on 4th and 10 or not running early downs, and that puts us behind the chain. So, yeah, I felt that way too. And then JJ is the man who carried the offense with Mikey. I mean, I thought JJ had an awesome day. How much would you say his performance contributed to this win, Wild Ute?
99%.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, we're not going to win this football game without JJ. Like, I don't think Glover gets us there. And I don't think Charlie Vincent has the talent level that, a JJ does. So JJ was
I think
the
that
man.
might be Charlie Vincent's like first real snap in like a non-Weber State or like garbage time game.
I can't believe he got a carry. Like,
Yeah, I was like,
why didn't Randall
Vincent's
suit
in
up?
there?
Where was Randall, the running back?
I don't know.
He's
I
supposed to
heard
be
rumors.
special.
Yeah, I heard rumors that he was going to be in there, but I don't know. I mean, Charlie Vincent got 1 carry, 4 yards. It's not terrible. I mean, that's good enough. So
Yeah,
works
I can
out.
brag about that one. Yeah, got that one for 4. But at JJ, really, without JJ, we don't win this game. Like he ran so physical today. He really did.
Yeah.
He wore out the Baylor defensive line, and so he was the best player on the offensive side of the field today. He and Chase.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude.
Cole Bishop.
Oh yeah. Cole Bishop killed it. I feel like Lander Barton and Cole Bishop really made plays on defense. I feel like they were the players of the game on defense. And then I think JJ was the clear player of the game on offense. And then there was just a few other guys. I know a lot of people are saying Nate, and yeah, Nate had an awesome very end of the game. But if you look at like the total script of the game, outside of the very end, it wasn't all about Nate. I feel like Mikey Matthews and Nate Johnson and maybe Vele were 3 guys that kind of contributed to us winning the game. For defense, it was a clear number 1, and I thought there was a clear number 2 in Cole Bishop and Lander Barton. But for offense, it was like, this is JJ clearly won us the game on offense, and these 3 guys, played their role and did a good job. That's kind of, I think a lot of people that get so excited about game-winning drives, they forget about the rest of the game. So,
And speaking of how good Cole Bishop was, like, you kind of like, I was just thinking I had like that slip there. It's Chase Hansen. He reminds me of Chase Hansen, like it's almost like having Chase Hansen, like maybe even a better version of Chase Hansen back there. But like, yeah, Cole Bishop is going to really be that protector, and as long as Utah, keeps it low scoring, we're going to win a lot of games this year. And like, I'm wondering if we can. Man, I want to pull up the schedule and just look at that real quick and just talk about the games.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, and the D, Gary, the D stepped up in the second half. Absolutely, man, that interception at the end of the game, and plus all the pressure. Just the only faux pas was that Miles Battle lost leverage at the end, where they had that long pass at the very end of the game. We're so lucky that guy didn't score. We are so lucky that guy didn't score. That receiver from Baylor, because he could have easily scored, and they go for 2 probably, and we could look at.
What a stupid play, dude! Damn,
we could have lost this game on that. Seriously, I was thinking that immediately when he caught it. I'm like, are we going to lose this game by a point?
Well, and then you have so much momentum after that play happens that it's scary. You're just like, damn, all right, well, we better flip the momentum back on our side.
I think we need to do some prognosticating here, because this is where we're at. It's a time in the schedule to be excited. We're optimistic and everything, So let's take a look here. So with Weber State, how you feeling about that game? Is that a W?
I think it's going to be a hard-fought battle. It's going to go down to the end of the game, but I think we'll pull it off. I'm just kidding. We'll beat Weber State by 3 to 5 touchdowns. Yeah, yeah. After today, who knows, dude? Who freaking knows?
Okay, let's say that Rising is back with Keithy for this UCLA game at home.
Before we say that, where's your confidence level that is the case?
100%.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great.
I think that was the plan all along, is you get them in a couple weeks to rest. I mean, Rising was taking reps this week. You don't play him versus Weber. Play Nate Johnson. Start Nate Johnson. Barnes is back up. You're at the the safety confines of Bryce Eccles in that game, so you win that game. Hopefully, put that away in the first quarter. I'm hoping so, because Weber gave us a game a couple years back.
In 2021. Yeah, they kept it close till halftime. Yeah, I remember that game too.
And then the things get real interesting, and like you basically put the super team out there with Rising and Keithy all of a sudden.
Yep.
And I think the only thing I'm thinking about this UCLA game is Rising going to be smooth? Is he going to be on all cylinders? Is he going to have like a game like Oregon, right, where he's just like kind of off? Well, yeah, there we go. Capisi's just nailing it tonight and stuff. Loads of rust and knock off for the UCLA game. That's exactly the thought. Just like do you put Rising in for a couple possessions versus Weber if he can go?
I would say if it's me, I love the idea of having Cam do like 2 drives just to start the game, then get him out of there. But I would also say if that's not what they do, UCLA, considering how good the Pac-12 is, UCLA is not the worst team to knock the rust off a little bit. That's how I look at that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I feel good about that UCLA game because it's at home. And I think that there's a realistic possibility the Utes are 4-0. And probably, I don't know what's going to happen in the rankings this week. I think that we'll probably stay flat or maybe move down a spot or two given the performance. So we might be sitting at like 13, 14.
I don't know, dude. I got to imagine the people doing the rankings have to have enough consciousness, whatever you say, to account for the fact that we don't have our starting quarterback, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I feel like all these games we're winning right now are just like, you can't knock us for them. If anything, you should be impressed by them that we're winning games without one of the best quarterbacks in the country. It's like, what would be a good example? Like if USC didn't have Caleb Williams and they're still winning games, aren't you going to give them like style points for that? You know what I mean? It's like once he's back, these aren't like neither one of these 2 games to me, and this is really how I feel, are competitive games at all. Florida really wasn't that competitive until a very small part of the end of the game. But it's like if Cam was in either of these 2 games, these games aren't competitive.
Okay, I can take that logic. So you stay at 12, say, and then like you're moving.
I actually think we move up to number 10.
Okay.
We got to see what else happens, but I think we move to 10.
Okay, so you beat Weber, then you beat. So say that you beat UCLA, then are you thinking top 8 at that point?
So if we beat UCLA, I think you got to like account for like what else is going to happen, right? But I'm with you. I'd say definitely like number 9. If not, you stay at 10. You got to see what else happens. I mean, if the top teams keep winning, right, the guys in front of us. But I would say for sure. And then I think we're getting into deadly territory. This is the real challenge. This is the real one. We're going to Oregon State, one of the toughest home field advantages in the country. I'd say definitely top 10, top 15, really good home field. How are you feeling right now about that?
So if Utah can sneak in the top 10, we're sitting around like what, 7, 8, 9 going into this game. Oregon
like
State
that,
has like powder puffs, I think, playing before. This is going to be an undefeated matchup. Oregon State's going to be borderline top 10. This is going to be like one of the only top 10 matchups ever that's on FS1. How the freak is this on FS1? You got to be kidding me. There's Beaver fans out there. Come on, let's squawk about that. This game.
That's a good point. This is going to be such a big game. It's already a big game, and if both teams keep winning, this is a really big game. And these are like almost identical programs. Like, if I was going to ask you, what's the most similar program in the country to Utah? Who would it be?
Yeah, it'd be the Beavs.
Yeah, like at least they're one of 3, right? Like it's right up there with anybody. Yeah. Very physical. They want to play smash mouth football, and now they have a quarterback, like a real quarterback, for the first time in a long time. They're a team that scares me a little. I would say, though, after these first 2 performances, I would worry about our D-line getting pressure. I'm not saying that's justified or it's not. That's just where my mind is, that I have some concerns there. I also would worry about their defense getting a lot of pressure, but at that point we'll have Cam back. And Cam, if anything, thrives under the pressure, breaks the tackle, and makes a 40-yard play. It's almost like the play breaking down is a good thing for Cam. That's usually how that works. So
this is such a big game. This is so massive, and like this is going to kind of fly under the radar nationally. That's a shame because it's a Friday night game on FS1.
I don't know. It might be a big one, dude. If we're both top 10, I could see that being like, hey, these are 2 really good teams. Like if we're top 10
for this channel, that's for sure. For this channel, it's a big game. Yeah. This game it's going to be a tough one to win. I think Joseph, you and I both had this game as an L. Before the season, I'm kind of still feeling like, hey, if you can escape that game with a win, you are looking so good, so good for the season. Because then Cal coming to Utah, I expect a big Cal defeat there. Should be like a total, just
I'm
blast.
excited to follow Cal. How have they done so far this year? Have you
They
followed
won
them at all?
game one, and get this, so they're playing Auburn. I don't know if it's going on right now tonight. And PFS, ESPN's PFS, like the game predictor. What I've heard, I need to corroborate this, is that Cal's favored to win that football game.
Well, Auburn's not exactly an amazing program right now. Like they're not great. And have you seen that stat that's been going around? The SEC is 1-10 in games on the West Coast since 2000. Isn't that talk about a conference that gives us no respect, and we're just beating the crap out of you guys when we play at home? I mean, geez, dude, 1-10. I mean, I would say if you ask me right now, I favor Cal, just like off that number, and then plus the fact that ESPN's favoring them. I think that's a good sign. The Pac-12 is going to be one of the coolest conferences this year. Every game is going to be a heart attack, but it's going to be one of the coolest conferences this year.
Yeah, what a way to end this Pac-12. But look at this gauntlet. So say you're either 5-1 or 6-0. I think a lot of us would think that at this point.
Yeah.
Going into this USC game, tough. It's a tough game in the Coliseum after beating them multiple times. This game is going to be a big-time matchup. Expect Big Fox, ABC, and stuff. Maybe College Game Day type of. This is going to be just complete madness. This game. It's going to be a tough one though. And then going back and having Oregon come to Rice-Eccles, and now at the end of the season, now Colorado's looking really good. And that game's not just a shoe-in.
Yeah, it went from 5 really tough games to 6. Once you saw Colorado play TCU, you were like, okay. At first, I was posting on Twitter, and I was like, oh, TCU looks bad. And then you start to realize, these guys aren't wide open. He's just hitting them. He's just – Shedeur Sanders just looks really good. It's funny. Everyone was talking about Travis Hunter. I was most impressed by Shedeur. I thought he looked nastily good. Travis Hunter was awesome, but Sanders looked really good. How do you feel about the USC game? I mean, where's your mind at right now? What's your gut feeling?
I think we lose the game. Sorry, guys.
This is where I'm at. I think if we're 5-1, we win. I think if we're 6-0, we lose. I can see that being such a trap where if we're 6-0, we're just we have all the hype and USC might not. Where otherwise USC will have all the hype and we won't.
I think this is a very difficult game to win. I think that USC is going to be this is the game they circled, right?
Yeah.
Based on all the stuff that they had last year. But don't worry, I think that we clip them in the Pac-12 championship. So although we might lose this one, don't worry, y'all. We're not going to go out with an L to those guys.
I think because of what I was just saying, where it's like, hey, if Oregon State wins, if we beat Oregon State, then we're 5-1 or we're 6-0 here. I say we, just for our mental exercise here, we say we're 6-1 with either a loss to USC or a loss to Oregon State going into the Oregon game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I've got the Utes right here. I've got a loss at Oregon State and a loss at USC. Okay. And then
that's just so you know where I'm at. I actually, maybe I'm too confident in our defense. I actually right now feel like we would beat both of those teams. I think our defense looks way better than I thought it would. I knew it'd be good. I think our defense looks elite, dude. I'm pretty excited about it.
If we beat USC and Oregon State, I mean, we should be top 3. Maybe like borderline number 1 in the nation. Like after that gauntlet, after all these wins, I mean, that's how strong that would be.
For real.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope you're right. I'm just thinking that you're for me, 6-2 right here. You go into this Oregon game, it's a must win, and you get it done. Rice-Eccles in a tight game. Bo Nix.
And they beat us last year, right? We've got that game circled a little bit. I think Utah fans are like, hey. I think you guys in the chat, and you probably agree with it too, Wild You, we should have won that Oregon game. And we let it slip out of our hands because they're the opposite. They're just like us where they're really, really good at home. And now they're coming to our place. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see a pretty significant win here. I think this is a game where it's like, oh, we won by 10, 13 points against Oregon.
Everyone bring your Darth Vader masks and everything because that's going to be a Halloween game a couple days before it. I'm sure it's going to be a blackout. Seriously, I need to get a Vader costume with Big 12 and stuff to wear a Vader with a big U on the front.
Dude, it's my wife's birthday that day, and my boss let me pick. So I went to the Florida game because he let me pick one game, and he like bought us like dope seats. And I really wanted the Oregon game, but it's on her birthday, and I was like, well, I'm just not going to be able to negotiate that one.
Yeah,
It's
take
not
care
gonna
of
happen.
business at home.
Yeah.
and everything. I'll rep for you. I'm a season ticket holder, North End Zone. I'm repping the North End Zone.
Dude, that's where I was. You were in the north end zone?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's where I was when I was at the Florida game. I was front row, dude. It was so dope. It was like
That's
such
awesome.
good seats. So awesome.
So looking forward. So like we're both. So you're at what are we? You're at 7, 8-0 at this point.
Yep.
8-0. I'm at 6-2. I think we win at Arizona State. So 7-2. Me, you'd be
Well, that's not at Arizona State. That's at home.
at home. Okay, so I'll give that a win, and then we're going into the crux game for the season. And that
This is a
Washington.
loss for me. This is where they have such a high flying passing game. And I would say for me, this is like one of these three games, Oregon State, USC, or Washington, is going to be a problem for us. Like it's going to be a stumble. And for me, Washington, it just felt like last week when I watched them, obviously we got a lot more football to watch and see how these teams look, but it felt like it wasn't if they will or will not get the passing attack going strong. It felt like when, because it took them a little while against Boise State. It's not a great team, but once they got it going, it was like unstoppable. They just racked up the scoreboard. So I would say they're going to be a challenge for us. We, especially looking at our DBs these past two games, Vaughn struggled a little against number one receivers. Not bad against number one receivers, but Battle and Broughton, again, like those three against a super deep receiver core. I think this is like the toughest game of the season for me.
I think it's possibly the toughest game of the season. I think we have to throw the kitchen sink out to get this win. I think that this is if we come in with 2 losses, this is it. You lose this game, it's over, right? Like, and so this game's so massive to see who goes to the Pac-12 championship, because I don't think Washington goes through it, unbeaten either. I think they're probably going to have one loss going into this or a loss after. So this is really the who gets in over Washington, Utah to the Pac-12 championship game. I don't know how Utah gets this one done. I just see the Utes getting it done. Like they're going to play aggressive. I think it's going to be a shootout. And somehow the Utes escape this game and get this big W right here.
I'm with you, man. Those are good points. Arizona, going to Arizona, playing them, and they're at home. I think that's a tough game. I actually think it's going to be like, especially at the end of the season with Colorado next week, it could be a or a look ahead game where it's like, hey guys, stay focused. We got to win this. My guess is a real close game, like 3 to 7 points victory, but Utah pulls it off.
Exactly. It's always a struggle in Tucson. This is a good Arizona team. It's going to be a tough one to win. I think we pull it out too. Close.
Yeah.
And then
Colorado,
this is the big
Utah?
one.
Yeah.
The Rumble and the Rockies are real. The first time we've ever had any juice with these guys.
Dude, think about how bad, like, this has been literally the check-off game of the conference the past 2 years. I didn't even get hyped for this game at all. I was just like, all right, we should beat them pretty handily.
Here's the good news for the Utes. This is November 25. This game is in Utah, and so we're looking at a cold weather game. We're looking at a Colorado roster that is elite top end talent, but no depth. And this is the last game of the football season. So we're going to have a beaten up Colorado team that has talent still in a really cold game where there's going to be a lot of rushing. I think that we win in the trenches this game and we beat Colorado by more than a touchdown.
Yeah, I think this is a tough one. I think why I see it as such a tough one is obviously they're a good team. I think anyone doubting that now, like maybe they're not an elite team like some people are saying, but they're definitely good to very good, somewhere in that range. They're a good team. The tough thing is, like I said, my prediction is we're in the 11-1 range, right? Worst case 10-2. We're clearly going to the conference championship either way, is my guess. And then we have like CFP hopes, right? That's where we are going into this game. And I could see Colorado getting so much energy into this game. They might be 7-5, 8-4 going into this game. And they're just like, yo, let's go play spoiler. Let's ruin their run. And I think it's going to be a really tough game. I can see us winning by a good amount. I think I want to see what our offense looks like with Cam and Keithy. Like, how many points can we put up, right? Like, this so far we've seen is a real lethargic offense, right? We need to have a high-flying offense by the time we get to this game. We better be ready to put up 35, 40 points to win this game. I think our defense can keep them under 30, but we're going to need to be over, right? So I feel like
really, like, yeah, that's a good point. And plus, like, the Friday after is a Pac-12 championship game, the Friday night games and everything. So you've got a 6-day turnaround to play USC again. And I'm thinking USC is going to get there because we're going to have the breakers over Washington and Oregon. You know, based on kind of how I see winning those two games, you have to have the tiebreakers over Washington and Oregon, and especially if you lose to USC, Oregon State, it's going to be close. I'm at 10-2 the season. It could go 8-4. It might go 11-1, depending on.
I've got us at 11-1. I'm optimistic though, dude.
Man, 11-1.
I'm optimistic. Yeah,
Dude,
that's how I always am, dude. I never pick Utah to lose a game, but you guys are Utah fans, you know, any given Saturday with Utah, we can pull it off. Like that's how this team is, especially with Rising. And on that note, guys, what a awesome day. Pulled off the win against Baylor. We got tested. We got put against the wall. We were able to get it done. If you haven't already, please make sure you guys like the video. That'll help get more fans to see it. Also, comment whether you're watching the video live or whether you're watching it after the fact. Ask any questions. I try to respond to as many questions as I can. This is a huge hobby of mine. I just enjoy talking Utah football. Also, subscribe to the channel, share the video with anyone that you know that likes Utah football. Let's grow the community. Share it on Facebook pages, retweet it on Twitter, all that. Also, follow the page at Utah Utes Ballin on Twitter and Instagram and all that. But most of all, make sure you guys follow at Wild Ute. He has been awesome, dude. He's a really cool follow. Tons of great info. And he has made these live streams a lot of fun, dude. I appreciate all the work you've been putting in to help out. So anything you want to say before we get out of here, Wild Ute?
Yeah, I do. It's time to flex, guys. Seriously, like be proud to be a Ute fan. This is a dang good football team. We're winning with our third and fourth string quarterback versus good P5 programs. And let folks know that take Utah seriously. Going into the Big 12, it's time to jaw. It's time to talk some trash and stuff, and time to celebrate this team. Because you never know in future years, and we could run into tough times. So you got to celebrate the good times and really enjoy it. So celebrate it this year. It could be real special, like we're talking about these games materialize. And thanks for having me on, Joseph. Appreciate it.
Dude, awesome. Thank you so much, Wild Ute, and thank all you guys in the chat and watching the video so much. This is awesome to hang out with you guys and talk Utah football. We're out. Go Utes.
Go Utes.